It's a wonderfully brisk morning in Great Smoky Mountains National Park. We are currently hiking out of Spencefield Shelter, which is where we spent the night with a lot of really cool other thru hikers and some section hikers as well. It was a really good evening, but today we have a really long day ahead of us, 20 miles or plus to get to the shelter closest to Gatlinburg, Tennessee. However, we're not going into Gatlinburg to resupply, as we were told it's a pretty big tourist trap. We'll be pressing on. So we're just trying to put as many miles between us and the start of the park as possible so that we can get to Hot Springs, North Carolina, our next resupply point, as quickly as possible. Feeling pretty good about it. We'll see how well it goes. Rocky Top Mountain. It's very windy up here. Pressing ever closer to about 6,000 feet. We're going to pass Clingmans Dome today, which is actually the tallest peak on the entire trail. But right now, we're less than an hour in and already seeing some fantastic views. Check that out. See you in a few. Hey, we're here at Derek's Knob Shelter, and I know I hadn't really gone about trying to show you a lot of the shelters yet, because when we roll into the shelters, usually there are other thru hikers there and we don't want to disturb them. But this is the look of most of the Smoky shelters we've run across. Pretty cool little eating area in the front. There's Scuba doing just that. Fire pit. There's a toilet area, not necessarily a privy. There was at the one we were at last night, but then the front of it is usually covered by a tarp like this to keep the wind out. If you look on the inside, got a nice couple bunks, and in the Smoky Mountains they actually give you a fireplace to try to keep warm. We used that last night and it kept us very warm, well, comparatively warm to what it was outside. So yeah, that's the shelter situation. We stayed in one last night. We stayed at the Fontana Dam one the night before. I don't know, if there's a flat ground outside the shelter tonight, I might actually pitch my tent just to do it since I have one, but we'll see. Alright, probably next thing will be Clingmans Dome, and I'll see you then. I want to take this opportunity as I'm walking through Smokies in a pretty flat section towards Clingmans Dome to talk about the hiker appetite. Now, this is something that I had heard about previously to getting on the trail, and well, the rumor or estimation is that you spend about 4,000 to 5,000 calories per day out here when you're hiking. Now granted, that depends on the speed at which you're hiking, the weight of your pack, your fitness level, etc. But I have found thus far has been completely true. As a matter of fact, Scuba eats probably close to twice as much as I do at 135 pounds, and I'm about 180 pounds. So it just goes to show that metabolisms are different, but you really need to cram in as much food as possible. And thusly, that's why the hiker diet is sometimes represented by Snickers bars, Hostess cakes, basically anything that has a lot of calories in them per a low amount of ounces. So I've been supplementing my diet of healthy things with quite a few unhealthy things, and that's just kind of what you have to do out here. You know, 15 to 20 mile days don't come without feeding yourself appropriately, and I'm sure everybody else out here would agree. So just wanted to speak to that really quick. So if you're planning a section hike and it's going to be longer than a few days long and your hiker appetite starts appearing, you better have brought enough food or plan on stopping, because it will hit you. First person shot approaching Clingmans Dome. Complete polar opposite from what I expected. It's actually become a very pleasant, flat trail with a lot of really cool vegetation all around, and the humidity has gone up quite a bit. So it just goes to show how ecosystems can change as you're going up and down in elevation. But just want to give you a quick look at that before we hit Clingmans Dome in a few minutes. Well, it's mile 200 and we are at Clingmans Dome, which is a really cool kind of revolving ramp that goes up to the highest point in all of Tennessee. And that means we're in Tennessee. So that's the third state we've walked into, which is also really cool. I was in a really, really bad mood before getting up here, to be perfectly honest, because it was just a tunnel of green that never ended to get up to this point. But then we ran into a lot, as you can probably see behind me, cool people that are just here for the Easter weekend, and they were wishing us well, and we're just completely astounded by the fact that we're doing a through hike, and it just kind of brings it all back into perspective for you, and how crazy this journey is that we're trying to do, and how motivating it is to people out there. So I hope that it's as inspiring to you as it has been to some of these people, and it's been great to talk to them. So yeah, check out this view. Still a few more miles to the shelter though, so I'll see you then. Still day 13, and we are on our way to Mount Collins Shelter. We are on what both Scuba and I theorized to be the last downhill on our way to finally finding this shelter. And Scuba said it earlier, and I'm going to agree with him. This day has been like Alice in Wonderland, just going further and further down the rabbit hole, because the environments keep changing so much, and in the middle of it we had this, you know, this explosion of activity and other people who are at the top of Clingmans Dome, and it's played a lot of havoc with our mind and our mental states. And I think that we're going into camp with a pretty good attitude. Honestly, I can't even tell. All I know is that we have a couple more days in this park, and tomorrow we're bypassing the inlet to Gatlinburg. So I'm going to hope that seeing all the other thru hikers depart on their way to get a resupply is not going to throw my morale off too much. But closest I've been to being negative this whole trip, so if this is the worst of it, then I think we're in good shape still. I'll see you at camp. Gadget reporting in and giving you a rare look inside of a true thru hiker's shelter. Got some friends hanging out here, probably looking at me strangely, wondering what the heck I'm doing. I got into bed and I forgot to do my closing journal, so we're here, we're about to fall asleep, and it was a really long, tough day, and can't wait for tomorrow. See you then.